This is the Watchdog News report. So, missiles, power, public opinion, and the right to know. So, welcome back or welcome to Watchdog News, your trusted platform for unbiased reporting. I'm your host, Jared Wesley Campbell, drawing from my years of service in the military and my experience beyond. I've observed the unsettling repercussions that surface when decisions are made without proper accountability. Our goal here is not to create fabrication. Instead, we aim to take seriously the weight of our responsibilities as we navigate vital discussions. Tonight, we'll delve deep into the pressing topics surrounding the deployment of the U.S. missiles to Ukraine. This situation is not merely a matter of military strategy. It's a complex web of power struggles and political maneuverings that are sweeping across the globe. We'll also highlight a critical shift occurring on the battlefield in the East, where the dynamics of conflict are rapidly evolving. Furthermore, we'll address the ongoing battle for the hearts and minds of the American people. This struggle is clearly infiltrating your social media feeds and influencing public discourse, as well as the way you and I all think. As we prepare for a thought-provoking evening, let's stay focused on our mission. Next week, we'll take a global perspective on current events through Watchdog News, a worldwide view. Our guiding principles are straightforward. Prioritize the facts first while allowing fear to recede into the background. Now let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. Number one, Pentagon greenlights Tomahawks for Ukraine. The final call. Trump says it's approved. The Pentagon says sending Tomahawks long-range cruise missiles to Ukraine will not dent U.S. strategic stockpiles. The Joint Chiefs delivered the plan ahead of Zelensky's push to hit oil and energy nodes, airfields, bases, and command centers that are deep inside Russia. Where it stands right now, European allies say the U.S. has no excuse to delay. Trump initially said the U.S. had a lot of Tomahawks, then paused after a call with Putin, telling Zelensky the U.S. needs the missiles for now. The White House has rapid delivery plans ready if he gives the green light. How to launch. Tomahawks are typically fired from ships, subs. Ukraine would likely require land-based launchers. The USMC, United States Marine Corps, and Army systems do have them, and they exist. Kiev's track record integrating Storm Shadow into older jets suggests workarounds are possible. Here are the specs in brief. 1,600-kilometer modern range for the missiles. The low altitude profile, 180 kilometers an hour, 6.1 meters long, and they weigh over 1,500 kilograms, and they roughly cost 1.3 million each. So here's the Kremlin's take. If Tomahawks are used deep in Russia, Moscow warns of a new round of tension and a corresponding response. Also insists that no single weapon will turn the tide of the war. Here is the Watchdog's take. This is a pressure test, not just of hardware, but of the nerves. Approve the missiles and you raise the stakes. Withhold them and you risk stalemate fatigue. Either way, the decision signal matters as much as the missile's radar signature. Number two, the Trump doctrine and practice. Leverage over loyalty. Here's the operating style. Nearly a year into his return, U.S. foreign policy has become personal, transactional, and fluid. Tariffs come fast, praise or snubs move markets and ministries. America First is enforced as pay up or pay the price, even for our allies. Here are some of the contradictions that define it. Broker ceasefires, then bomb Iran's nuclear sites. Threaten 100% tariffs, then cut bespoke deals. Press NATO to spend more, yet keep the door open just enough to claim strength without exit. Competing GOP camps are trying to steer it. Guys like Rubio Graham Assertive U.S. power everywhere. The restrainers like Vance, who is very skeptical of global policy, wary of Ukraine costs. Others like Kobe, Asia first, down weight. Europe, Middle East. Trump doesn't belong to any tribe. The tribe's been around his instincts. Cost benefit ledger. Supporters see wins. Pressure on allies, deals. NATO spends more. Gaza ceasefire claims. Critics see spent diplomatic capital. Generate partners and a message to the world. Depend on America at your own risk. Here's the Watchdog's take. Power that's used unpredictably can shock your enemies. It can also spook your allies. Short-term leverage is proper. Long-term trust is irreplaceable. Moving on to number 3 tonight. Let's talk about the Russia-Ukraine front, right? So claims of encirclement and Prokhorovsk, right? So Moscow's claim. So what is Russia's claim? So Moscow's claim is this. Russia's defense ministry says Ukrainian troops in Prokhorovsk, which is in eastern Donetsk, are encircled and they're seeing beginnings of surrenders. Here is Kiev's reply. Ukraine says it improved positions in sectors, but admits the situation is becoming very complicated. Why is Prokhorovsk important, and why does it matter? It's a road and a rail hub, a logistics gateway, right? It's a logistics gateway that Ukraine has used throughout the war. Let me back up. So it's a logistics gateway Ukraine has used throughout the war. Russian media calls it the gateway of Donetsk. If Prokhorovsk and nearby towns fall, right? Russia gains a springboard toward Kramatorsk, and I'm going to take a stab at this. Slavinska or something like that. Ukraine's remaining strongholds in the Oblast region. You'll see on your screen a map of Ukraine, and the area we're discussing is highlighted in yellow. Here's the Watchdog's take. If the encirclement holds, it's a shape of the front moment. Less about map and inches. It's less about inches and more about supply lines and morale. Watch for confirmed surrenders, corridor closures, and whether Ukraine can break the ring or pivot to a lasting defense. All right, so number 4, Israel's U.S. image campaign. Benjamin Netanyahu says, talk to Musk and win over TikTok. Here's the problem as set, right? Polling in campus streets say a generational shift. More Americans, especially Gen Z and many Democrats and a slice of younger Christians, are less sympathetic to Israel and more to Palestinians after the war in Gaza. Here's a response. Israel's hiring ad firms and also a bunch of influencers to rebuild support. Firms registered under the FARA cite a focus on Christian audiences. Another contractor works to reshape online discourse, including how AI platforms surface Gaza content. Wow. Benjamin Netanyahu's brief to creators. Social media are the weapons of the modern era. Keep X, Musk, and TikTok on side to win the narrative. Inside the right, even voices within MAGA, from people like Marjorie Taylor Greene on AIDS skepticism to Tucker Carlson, blasting Christian Zionism reflects a fracture. Here's an analyst review. This isn't a PR dip. It's a durable opinion shift. A Gaza generation formed by real-time footage and a prolonged war. If a rift exists within Israel's movement that extends beyond political opposition to Republican President Donald Trump and his ally, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. In July, prominent MAGA figure Marjorie Taylor Greene expressed her opposition to a bill that proposed $500 million in aid to Israel for 2026. She highlighted concerns regarding the national debt of the U.S., stating nuclear-armed Israel's national debt is over $400 billion, compared to our own crippling national debt of $37 trillion. Nuclear-armed Israel appears to have its defense debt under control, so American taxpayers should not be forced to give nuclear armed Israel another $500 million from the U.S. defense budget. Tucker Carlson, another notable spokesman for the MAGA movement, described Christians as heretics and stated in October that the U.S. is investing time and resources in a country that he believes geopolitically doesn't even matter. Even analyst Shelby Telhami noted a significant generation shift in attitudes towards Israel, comparing it to past generation responses to events like Pearl Harbor and also Vietnam. Also stated that current Gaza genocide perceives Israel as a hostile entity due to the exposure to conflicts through the media. Telhami suggested that Israel may underestimate the depth of the change, believing that improving its media narrative could alter public perception. However, the argument is this change is substantial and likely to shape American public opinion for the years to come. The Watchdog take. You can buy ads, but you can't buy trust. In the end, policy and conduct write the story that algorithms only amplify. Number 5, press access tightens in the White House. The People's Hallway narrows. A new rule. Reporters are now required to schedule appointments for the press office corridor near the Oval Office. Previously, the Pentagon had restricted access, prompting resignations and the return of credentials. Official rationale: protect sensitive information. Press worry: less access, fewer questions, and thinner accountability. Here's the Watchdog's take. Security and sunlight are enemies. Let me say that again. Security and sunlight are enemies. If you choose the corridor, you're not just blocking reporters, you're also blocking citizens. And as we close this evening, right, we know that missiles are now on standby. A city is under siege in Ukraine. Allies are on the edge, and there's a communications shop. Don't overlook the different headlines. I've tested this. How America yields power. How America wields power. How we communicate the truth about it. Should the public still have front row seat? If tomahawks are deployed, citizens should be prepared to face a Gold Star mother. If we apply pressure to our allies today, it doesn't make sense that we may need their support when the subsequent conflict begins. And if we restrict access to information, we don't protect democracy, we weaken it. I've learned this the hard way. The loudest sound in a free country shouldn't be the roar of a missile or the churn of a spin cycle. It should be the voice of the citizens armed with the facts and unafraid to ask questions. The Watchdog creed is simple. Truth doesn't trend, it stands firm. Tonight, it stands for accountability, restraint with strength. So restraint with strength and the American right to know before any orders are given. As always, from the Watchdog, stay vigilant and always stay ready. Thank you all so much. I'm always looking out for all of you. It's Chair Wesley Campbell with Watchdog News. I hope you enjoyed tonight's report. I'm out.